afternoon, everyone. It is Friday afternoon, October the 24th, 2025. It's afternoon here in California, I should say. It is early evening over there on the East Coast. It's late night over in Europe. It might even be Saturday, depending on where you live. But no matter where you are, you know that it is time for Cinema Crusaders. I am your host, Nim. Always happy to be here when I can to present Cinema Crusaders to you. Apologize for not being here last week. We have had all sorts of technical difficulties or other things. Last week, the state of California, yes, you can blame the state of California, called me into jury duty and prevented me from being able to be here to do Cinema Crusaders with all of you. But I'm glad that I am out of jury duty. I am free for at least another year, knock on wood, and that jury duty is over. Although they did leave me with a little bit of a cold, so if I've got a little bit of a hitch in my voice, that's why. So thank you very much, State of California. Yes, the horror show that keeps on giving. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, California. Don't come get me. All right, but we are going to do an episode of Cinema Crusaders for you today, and we are still in spooky season, and it's extended spooky season. And I picked this movie that I remember watching in the 1990s, The First Power, starring Lou Diamond Phillips. And it's going to be interesting talking about this because I definitely had some retro glasses on when I picked this movie, but we got a lot to say. But before we do that, I need to introduce my fellow Cinema Crusaders, those gentlemen who are on this quest along with me to bring you all those movies that are at least 10 years old that we want you to take a chance on again, even if they're not particularly good. Maybe you'll enjoy them because what is one person's, what is that line from Batman? One person's something is another person's rhubarb. I don't know. Someone will figure it out. You know what I mean. So, but before I do that, let's bring in my fellow Cinema Crusaders. He is an author. He is currently got the book The Dread out on Amazon, and he's got a book signing this weekend, so mazel tov to him, sir. He is also a writer of comic books and is working on another book at the moment as well. I am talking about none other than the man behind the hockey mask, Macabre Mike Nunnally. How you doing, Macabre
Yeah. I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to talking about this. It was it's not quite I wouldn't call it good, but I will say that I'm going to enjoy talking about it.
Yes. I will say this though. Maybe you'll disagree with me, but I will say that my time spent watching even a bad horror movie is not necessarily a bad time because I just
not
enjoy
even
the
a
thought
waste
of
of time at all. Not even. No.
Yeah. So,
No.
and it's Halloween, so there's all that. And if it's really bad, then the suffering that we get just contributes to the season, right? Right, everyone?
And it makes Pinhead happy.
Yes. So go out there, rent Showgirls, and watch it today, and you'll be contributing to the Halloween season. But enough of that. We got another Cinema Crusader to introduce. He is also an author. He is a writer of comic books. He has also written several definitive articles on a variety of comic book subjects, and he is an educator, and he is also the owner of a Beagle. I'm talking about none other than Steve Shadewing Sellers. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing okay. I'm not sure how I feel exactly after watching this. This is like the first time that I've seen this movie. It's no bueno. It's not. But
It's
I
not
will
good?
say it's not. It's not terrible in the way that you can't watch it. It's entertainingly goofy. And sometimes you're going to get into full on unintentional hilarity with some of it, and so it's like, okay, is it entertaining enough to at least watch it? Sure. Is it a movie that I would recommend as a serious work of horror? No, not really.
All right, folks. I'm going to set the scene for you. We're coming out of the decade where we had Dirty Harry telling people, "Make my day." We had Charles Bronson going on multiple death wishes.
Yeah.
And then we go right into Lethal Weapon and Stallone's Cobra and Kindergarten Cop is not a tumor, and all of this stuff. So this is the era of cops that we're living in, and cop movies and stuff that we're living in. I just want to put that out there. I mean, even on TV, we've got like Barney Miller. We're supposed to guess that fish is a hard boiled. So you got to suspend disbelief a little bit. This movie asks an awful lot of you. That's all I'm going to say. So let's sum this up. Now,
the difference, though, is those characters you listed are actually interesting, likable, or badass enough to make you forgive that. The Lou Diamond Phillips' character in this movie is none of those things.
Wow. Shot across the bow. I need some sound effects for this show because that would be a cannon across the bow from Steve Sellers there.
I know a little ricochet sound or something like that.
Yeah, on Logan Russell, man. Jesus. See you around, buddy boys. That's what Steve is saying right now. So, all right. So,
stomach, buddy boy.
Yeah. Just sum up this movie for everyone. So, this movie is pretty much the end game for the Satanic Panic of the 1980s. If the Satanic Panic had a movie that it was building up to, it was this movie. And to be fair, I think one of the reasons I enjoyed this movie is that it comes on the heels of The Night Stalker in LA. And I've talked about The Night Stalker quite a few times, and so that scared the shit out of me in high school because we lived through that. And so this movie kind of built on that, but there were other things. I could name any number of movies and stories that have this basic plot. And the basic plot is there's a satanic killer out there who is kidnapping people and murdering them ritually as a sacrifice to Satan. And they've all got different reasons why they're doing it, but they're all using the pentagram and everything else. And, lock up your kids, hide away your dogs, and clutch your rosary beads because the satanic killer is coming for you tonight. That is the satanic panic. Yes, he did. So, in fact, you may be looking at one of them right now. Right. Yeah. So, that's basically what this is. And Lou Diamond Phillips is hard-boiled Brooklyn detective who happens to live in LA, and he's not Italian. He is Latino, so it doesn't come off really well. But Lou is doing his best to try and be that hard-boiled noir detective when it really doesn't fit. They could have at least given him some sax music to play with, but they didn't even do that. And Lou is trying to catch this guy, and he's getting mysterious messages, giving him hints about what's going to happen. And one of these hints eventually pays off. After a 3-night stakeout, one of the detectives is kidnapped. And sure enough, they catch the bad guy in the middle of trying to kill Carmen, who we get to see her breasts, and that's about it. That's about all she does in the whole movie. And true horror movie fashion, she looks frightened. She walks around sexily, and then she flashes all of us. She's about to be killed, and then she's killed later on in the movie. So she is a true horror movie scream queen in that way. So I feel like I'm back on Counting Corpses at the moment. Anyway, so they catch the guy, and the person who was giving the clues said no death penalty. And of course, Lou Diamond Phillips lies his ass off as the cop, and they celebrate with the death penalty, and the guy goes out creepily, and I'm not sure how much time it was later, but the killings start up again. The first person killed is Carmen, the one who showed us all her rack, and then she dies in the same place where she was rescued before, and then other people start falling off one by one, and it's a different person each time, and Lou Diamond Phillips is trying to figure it out, and cops are dying left and right, and he runs into the person who was giving him the message, who is a psychic. She is the psychic who stars, who has the funniest line in there where she says, she's like, don't treat me like a crazy. I'm no crackpot. I'm a professional psychic. So, yeah, that is a wonderful, wonderfully written line.
Played by Melanie Griffin's half-sister, might I add.
Yes. And we're going to get into all of that in a little bit. So, anyway, long story short, the psychic, the hard-boiled detective that is out of place and out of time, and then a random nun that we throw in there for good measure, decide to take on the satanic guy who now has the first power, that he's been resurrected. But not only does he have the first power, he has the second power, And the second power is so inconsequential, I can't even remember what the hell it is.
The
And he also
second
gets
power is the ability to see the future.
okay, great. He
She
gets
had
the
the second
future.
power being psychic.
Yeah. Well, if the other guy had the second power, he would have been better than the third power. But anyway, he has a third power, and as someone else I saw online said, and it's actually true, this movie really should be called The Third Power because the whole movie really is about the fact that he can go from body to body and make these kills. So it should have been like the first to the third power or something like that. I don't know, but that's what ends up happening. And there's a special blessed knife right out of Omen. They went to the set of Omen and stole it out of Damien's hand and brought it over here to this movie to kill this guy with the first, second. Well, he doesn't have the second power. It's the first and third power. And they went after him. And there's a long fight. And there's magical ceiling fans and displaced pits of acid. And we'll get into all that in a little bit. But that's basically what it is. And they kill him. And Lou Diamond Phillips, just like Gregory Peck in the Omen, gets shot, killing the bad guy at the end. So when I say that they ripped off Omen, I mean they ripped off Omen. So and that's a movie I have a lot of time for. Although I never want to watch it again because I never want to see that little kid peer into my soul ever again if I can avoid it. So that is the movie summed up. That is your NIM summary in 10 minutes or less. I am going to go around the horn real quick, and I will take the end here. I just want to get your general thoughts on this movie. What do you think of this movie in general? I'm going to go opposite direction this time. I'm going to start with Steve and then come up to you, Mike. Here we go. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on this movie?
The idea is really good. I mean, the problem is it's been used better in later movies. There's nothing wrong with the idea of a serial killer who can hop bodies and remain untouchable by the law, as other people are blamed for their crimes, or this being goes on killing people through body hopping. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's been used very well in a particular movie that came out later, Fallen. And
I can also tell you that in 1993 or 4, there was a version of the Police Quest games that did this in LAPD. So and did it better. So I'll just say that. So, anyway,
the problem is not the concept, not at all. I don't even think it's a problem of the actors per se. The cast is not bad at all. Generally, I have no problem with Lou Diamond Phillips, and I'm kind of obligated to say that because I used to live in his hometown for like quite a few years, so I feel like I'm obligated. So I do not like being critical of him, but I will say this was not his best role, unfortunately, and it's a shame to say that because it's like he's trying so hard to be cool, and it's just not coming across in this movie. His character is really an asshole, really by the standards even of movie cops. I think even by movie cop standards, this guy is just not likable in any way for most of the movie. There is a character arc. They do try to change him later. They do try to delve into it, but by that point, it's like it doesn't matter because he's he lost a lot of sympathy up to that point. You get some really. I do like Tracy Griffith in this movie. She's okay, and I will say the guy playing the villain maybe discount Brian Thompson, but he does it okay. I really can't complain about that. And I do think that there's some really cool moments here and there, but there's also a lot of stuff that's unintentionally hilarious. There's also a lot of stuff that makes absolutely no sense here and there, and it's just enough to take you out of the movie here and there. And some things they're really kind of telegraph and are just kind of like, yeah, you see this coming. They're absolutely setting this up, and when the moment hit it doesn't really surprise you. It's like, okay, go ahead and just flood the caverns already. That kind of stuff.
I think we're going to do a specific section on writing and direction because I think this movie deserves it. One way or I'm not saying that in a good way. I will also say for Lou Diamond Phillips, and I don't want to rub salt in the wound, but Lou Diamond Phillips was going through a divorce at this point in his life as well. as his wife was leaving him for Melissa Etheridge. So Melissa Etheridge might be to blame for the performance of this movie. So I'm just going to put that out
Adding
there.
insult to injury right there.
Yeah. That
So
was
his
my
wife came to Melissa Etheridge's window, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all of us have just now fired a broadside across the bow of Lou Diamond Phillips. So, all right, let's go to Mike. What are your general thoughts on this movie?
Well, Steve covered a lot of it. I guess I am a guy that likes to find some kind of deeper meaning. You guys have talked about movies with me enough. You know this. I try to analyze it and find something in there that maybe isn't obvious on the surface. And I found all of one thing in this movie, and it was not even done all that great. It was not consistent, and that was the old man mask that the killer used. He put it on the first victim we see him with. He puts it on her face, and this is obviously meant to mimic. This is him replaying his first killing.
Right.
So I like little things like that because that's actually serial killer accurate.
Yeah, and I'll also add, I'm pretty sure that mask was him, symbolically killing his father.
His father was his grandfather.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-oh. Did we freeze?
No.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
All right. Well, I will say my general thoughts on this movie, taking in both of what you said, and I think that Mike's point and then Steve's follow-up on that is interesting. And I think that brings me back to one of the things that I thought about this movie. And we're going to go right from this, I think, into the writing and direction part, was that the beginning of the movie feels much more focused and put together and thoughtful than the middle and the end. It feels like the beginning was thought out and they had an idea where they wanted to go. Whether they were executing it well or not, that's a whole other decision. But at the end, as it started going along, it felt like there was just all sorts of crap getting thrown at the wall. It's like, take a piece of this horror concept, throw it in there. Take a piece of this horror movie, throw it in there. What else do we got going on? Yeah, we got this thing for the Omen. Well, let's throw that in there. Hey, he could use a weapon. Well, let's have him use a ceiling fan. Let's throw that in there. So
I would also like to point out the misuse of the pentacle and pentagram. When put, one of those is supposed to be written on the ground, and they're put in a circle because it is meant as protection. Holding up a little disc with a pentacle on it isn't going to do anything to anyone. I'm just saying, going by movie rules, that's just stupid.
I do have to give them credit for this. The one thing I do have to give them credit for is that at this point in time, in American zeitgeist, every pentagram or pentacle was considered a sign of evil, of demon worship. No one understood the differences between, and this is what I've understood. I don't study this stuff, meticulously, but the regular pentacle, which you said is a sign of protection, and then the upside down one, which was supposedly adopted by Satanists and things like that. So there's all that.
And you have to hold it up the right way in this movie.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, he turned, that's a whole other thing. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, so it looked like this movie became this hodgepodge and it became very disjointed. It looked like it was a movie searching for an ending at one point. They forgot all about certain characters who all of a sudden show up in the third act to become central parts right before they're killed and possessed. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and we're going to get into it right now when we jump into writing and direction, because this movie was written and directed by, and let me get the guy's name again real quick, and because I can't see right now, Robert Resnikoff. And I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but Robert Resnikoff's first and last directorial job was this movie. Before this, he had been a Hollywood writer. since 1980. He had done some writing on some shows. He wrote a Disney Mickey Mouse featurette. And then he wrote a comedy the year before that starring Pat Morita and John. I'm going to say Pat Morita and Jay Leno, of all people.
Hey, Leno, yeah.
I've never heard of it. And then he gets this job, and then he disappears. He's gone, and it turns out that he is now a guy who works in education. He's done some stuff for theater a little bit here and there, but mostly he writes AP courses, so for English. So that's what he does now. So
I
take
don't necessarily think he's a bad writer, but dude
No.
did not do research. Is all that's
Well-
my main complaint.
and from what I have seen, he has no experience directing before or after this. Never went to a film school. Not that you need to go to film school necessarily to make a movie. And then he just kind of got this job. And I'm going to kick it around. I'm going to kick it over to Mike first. I've definitely got my ideas of what was going on here, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first. But I wanted to give you that background on him because I wanted to see what you guys think. So kicking over to Mike first. What do you think of the writing and the direction, which were the same person in this movie? Because normally you could blame the writer or the director, but they're the same person. So if he didn't realize his vision, it's kind of on him unless it was messed with, right?
I guess I am the type of person that likes a writer to actually do research instead of just going with whatever cliche works for that week. And that's kind of what happened there with the writing. The direction, there were so many scenes in there that were just, this is not how you do things. When they meet on the stairs and he's confirming that he's going to get the death penalty, and they do that weird flashback between their eyes. That was done so terribly. I mean, it was just wrong. And then they're going after the chase, and they start to get to the end of it, and instead of just having them pull over somewhere, they do a black scene for 5 seconds and then just have them park somewhere.
Yeah.
What? Why would you do it that way? I mean, it's just, there was so many just directorial things that you just don't do in movies. I don't know if he was trying to be artsy or experimental, but it failed miserably.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think that is an absolutely valid, fair, and accurate critique. Steve, what about you?
When I think of writer-directors who make bad horror movies, my first thought is Hal Warren and Manos: The Hands of Fate. It's not quite that bad. It's not quite that bad, but you do get a little bit of, okay, on the one hand, yeah, you could definitely see at times where the writer-director's vision is on the screen, but when you have a writer-director who really is not good at directing, this is kind of where you start having problems. I mean, he might be a perfectly good writer, and I can definitely see, moments where that could be the case, but it's like, yeah, but this was clearly like his first attempt at a film, maybe because he was kind of tired of other directors interpreting his scripts. That would not surprise me, but, and I can sympathize a little bit with that if that's the case, but you really don't know how to direct. And it really just kind of
shows. If those were
shows.
his ideas, you could see why other directors might have turned it down.
Yeah.
So I've got some thoughts on this, and I'm curious if you guys will have anything to add to my thoughts on this. So
Okay.
we are all three of us writers, and I could think of several writer-directors who can write to varying degrees. I think they're above average writers, and because they're such great directors, I'm thinking specifically Zack Snyder is a good director, even though he annoys me sometimes. Same thing with James Gunn. They both are writer-directors. They can sometimes direct themselves out from under bad stuff they've written. Plus, they've got a lot of people on their team around them that are helping them out. Much like with a writer, you've got an editor. So he's written all this stuff, and people that have written prose, like prose, not prose, 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 like all of us. Sometimes when you write prose, it's much like writing or watching a musical where nobody talks like that or nobody thinks like the certain way people think when it's in a book. It's to invoke images in your mind. Nobody's saying going, she walked around like wet marmalade on a carpet, or I don't know, whatever. So yeah, nobody's sitting there in real life thinking like that. And I'm thinking that this was the kind of writer that he is. He's writing this kind of stuff, and then he tries to bring it life to life exactly if that image in his mind on the screen a lot of the time. And where I saw it the most was in a lot of the action scenes, where you can write action or fight scenes and stuff like that and leave a lot to the imagination for your reader. And then when he was forced to put it on screen, I saw some stuff that was absolutely ridiculous. Like there's one part where the guy's fighting with a pipe. Lou Diamond Phillips has a pipe to hit the guy, and he paused and he waits for 10 seconds for the other guy to do a backflip and kick the pipe out of his hands, then land, gather himself, and then tackle him and to go. I mean, like that never happens that way. And if you had,
I was laughing at the demonic serial killer suddenly learning how to backflip. I'm just like, what the hell?
And it's the same thing with the magical ceiling fan. You could say in writing that he just grabbed the ceiling fan, he goes after it, and he's going. And somewhere in my head, if I'm reading that, I'm like, well, it's a long wire. Maybe it didn't get pulled out or something like that, But when it came to it and they just pulled it out, and then suddenly it's hooked up to a hell of a battery pack, and he's going down, the hallway with this thing, it becomes laughable. And you should be at that point, if you're not going to see it yourself, somebody should be like, we got to rewrite this or get rid of this, so right? It's like, or rethink it. So
did you notice it also took on this suddenly vicious whirling sound when he pulled it off? Like it's all quiet up there. He turns it up, suddenly it's
I know. It suddenly went to like 500 amps on that thing. But yeah, I mean,
it's suddenly it's a helicopter blade, Come on.
Yeah. And I'm going to say the same thing for the characters. And that's why I wanted to do this section before we get to the acting, is that I think that he wrote this story in his mind as a certain type of story, but then he got characters cast, he got actors cast that brought something else to it, and then bringing it to screen is something else different. Noir is a very dated genre, and on screen, you have to present it in the old way, otherwise it seems cliche and not appropriate. And I don't think that he had the right people at all. And he's trying to bring a certain vision to life in a bad setting and all this other stuff. And instead of realizing and maybe pivoting or whatever it is you need to do. So I think that speaks really to, being a rookie director. And maybe this is just not something he should have been doing, and it ends up he didn't end up doing it. So do you guys have any thoughts on that before we get into the actual acting performances? So
no, I agree with that, but I do want to add one little comment. It is my opinion that a fair amount of being an author is mastering the simile.
Okay.
This feeling feels like this.
Sure.
This feeling feels like this. That is because it's all about describing it using some kind of a picturesque thing that describes it for you and that kind of thing. And it just saying he's angry doesn't work. We have to elaborate on it. You know what I mean?
Right. But that's what you were. But in a movie, you're relying on your
type of description. That kind of thing.
Yeah. But in a movie, you're relying on your actors to do that. And you could set the mood in some other ways with like music and lighting and the setting and stuff like that. But really, it's the actor, and that's the other thing that all three of us have mentioned behind the scenes is that to a person, all of the actors in this movie seem to be overacting, and I think that they were directed to overact. I think that he was trying to pull some huge, overly dramatic thing out of it. I mean, even Charlton Heston, at his most Charlton Heston back in like Ben-Hur or something, didn't overact like that, So I mean,
God damn it all to hell.
Yeah, I mean,
even William Shatner would have been impressed with the overacting.
Yeah, Yeah, William Shatner's like, oh, you're sort of overacting, and Sulu was like, oh my, you're overacting. So
Yeah.
I am a captain too.
Yeah,
Kirk.
I will bring one thing up on the writing, and that is sometimes they really do not adhere to the rules that they establish.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Particularly like with who this guy can possess, because they seemed like they were trying to say, okay, he can only possess people that are either out of touch of reality, or people that are like drunk or like drugged up, and people think like that. How did they possess the nun?
True.
It's like, okay, well, you could say, okay, she's out of touch with reality because she's into like crazy type of stuff and whatnot. And I'm like, no, she's the only person who's right in this movie. Everybody else is not really seeing the threat. She was the only one who, even in the church, who saw the threat. No,
Well,
she's saner than anyone else. Why is he being able to possess her if that's the case?
Not only that,
it was convenient. That's the only reason that they did it.
The bad guy in this movie, by the end of the movie, has a buttload of plot powers that come out of absolutely nowhere. He seems to be able to bend space and time and teleport all over the place, as evidenced by the bag lady being upstairs in the apartment, and then suddenly and it's not him and somebody else, and you see him. It's the actual physical back lady all of a sudden being in the car with them. It's like, how the hell did that happen? So,
I mean, this is the one thing that annoys me about horror movie villains, is that they just conveniently manage to be able to do whatever it is that they need to be able to do, just to pull off the scare or the kill. And I just feel like in this movie, they really kind of turn that up to 11.
Well, now you're gone a little too far. I got to step up for horror villains. All right. You got to go into a horror movie with a certain amount of suspension of disbelief and be able to understand that what we're watching here is designed to titillate and scare and create suspense. And they got to be able to do certain things that you wouldn't expect. However, there are things that strain credulity that, make you incredulous. And I think that the first Power went to that level of, it went to ludicrous speed. So, so at that point,
plaid.
Yeah, we did go plaid. You're absolutely correct. So,
and I thought Rutger Hauer from the last movie had his bad moments with that, but yeah, this character was worse.
Yeah, like Wait Until Dark. That's not a super horror movie, but the guy, he should be dead at that point. And the fact that he gets up again, it just sets the scene for so many other horror movie tropes where the bad guy gets up after you should be dead. You've come to expect it, and you suspend disbelief. You're like, okay, I'm ready for it, but this was a bridge too far. So, and we will save a bridge too far for when we do war movies. I don't know when that'll be, but some point.
I will say that there in as a horror writer, I can tell you that there is a fine line when writing genre between doing tropes that people expect in the genre and doing something new and different. Because it all depends. Sometimes you want to bring something new, but if you don't have certain elements in your story, if certain things aren't there, then horror fans are going to be disappointed.
But I think Steve's point is absolutely valid, and it dovetails into your point as well, is that I think horror fans and horror readers and anybody who collects and reads, consumes horror content is willing to overlook quite a bit as long as the rules are defined. And the rules are defined very early on in the story. You know what to expect. This is a paranormal story. If we had known right from the beginning that this guy could jump left, right, and center and do all this other stuff and do all these amazing things, we would have been like, well, holy shit, Lou Diamond Phillips is screwed. And we would have watched the movie, But for him to all of a sudden develop this when it's convenient, then we're like rolling our eyes and going, well, okay, whatever. So it's one of those genres. It's just like using magic, take, for instance, Tolkien. Magic has a certain flavor to it in the Tolkien movies. If suddenly Tolkien, Gandalf became a true D&D wizard, casting spells like they do in D&D, would have been like, yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's not Tolkien magic, it's different, so
right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I would say like, Sanderson style of, magic system, in the middle of something like Tolkien, is just is kind of jarring on the basis that, yeah, I mean, if you're told that, this is what magic is, and then it turns out to be something else, yeah, you're violating the laws of your world.
Right, right. And you lose all of us as readers understand this, but for everybody or writers, but everybody else who's, just enjoys books or whatever, you've probably gone through this. If a writer does that, they lose all the goodwill that has been built up, that trust, that connection between the reader and the writer, and then it's you never really get it back. You don't get it back. So all right, let's dive into the actors real quick. I don't know that there's a ton to say here, but there is stuff to say. And I do want to start with Mike on this one. Go wherever you want to go with the actors, and we'll just we'll talk about it. So
I will say that there was one performance in this movie that I was actually impressed with.
okay.
And it actually involves the nun when she was possessed. I thought that she did a really good job of. She had the right look on her face. She had the right energy and everything. I there was not a moment in there that I didn't believe her performance, and I can't say that about anybody else in the film.
Cool. What did you? I'm going to go to Steve in a second. What did you think of the guy? And I can't remember his name. I'm going to look right now. He's been in quite a few things. The guy who played the main bad guy. So Jeff Kober as Patrick Channing. So
I'm used to him from X-Files, honestly.
Yep. Okay, but I thought he was good. I thought he was good in his role. What he got, I thought he came off as creepy, and for what he was given, I thought he did a pretty good job. Actually, with his screen presence and his movement at times, I thought that if he had wanted it, he would have made a fairly decent Jason or Michael Myers. But that's just me. So I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know if he's tall enough. What about you, Steve? Any comments on acting in this movie? Anything you want to throw out there?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I do think that guy Coburn, I was thinking of him as like Diet Brian Thompson for much of the movie because I couldn't remember his name. But that's that's kind of the vibe that I got from him. That kind of big, stocky type of dude who has this undercurrent of menace and usually plays bad guys, that kind of thing. I thought that he was fine. That in the role, I think he was at least physically imposing. I thought at least he was decent at playing this the creepy guy. Not amazing, but I thought he was serviceable enough and he was convincing enough. But cool. Yeah, I did like the actress who played the nun. I mean, the shift from being the non persona, to being the Channing persona was actually like, yeah, she was actually pretty solid in that. Like, I didn't have a problem with her at all. Yeah. I think, and this is really kind of like, you can get to tell that they're either over directed or they're just not really working in most of these roles. I just feel like the Lou Diamond Phillips character is just like, they're trying to portray him like he's trying too hard to be cool, and he's just not. And I think that, you get a lot of that coming across, but I don't know how much of that is the direction and how much of that was Phillips just being a bad casting choice for it.
Yeah, I did not buy the tough guy thing from Phillips at all. No. I did not for 1 minute think he could beat me up. You know what I mean? I'm not picturing.
And he can be badass. I mean, in the right movie, in the right role, he can be badass. But that just wasn't there here.
I think it's because he was trying to act a part and he was doing so many ludicrous things as a detective. It was not good. I do want to give a couple shout outs myself. One is the main female protagonist of this movie is Tessa Seaton, played by Tracy Griffith, who is the half sister of Melanie Griffith. She tried her best. I don't know if she is not a good actress or what. I know that she is not an actress anymore. She stopped acting in 1999, and she is a sushi cook now and writes cookbooks. But I think it was a combination of things. But unfortunately, a lot of her performance came off very much like B movie star. So I was kind of joking with the guys, but I'm halfway serious. Is that there were times when I was expecting this to be like a Cinemax late at night movie, so it was a little disturbing. I will also give a shout out to, gosh, I gotta look. What's his name? Dennis Lipscomb. Yeah, as Commander Perkins. I've seen him in quite a few things. In fact, the thing I remember him most from, though, is he was in the pilot of Moonlighting, believe it or not. So I liked him in that. Although I have to tell you, and I'm going to see if you guys could guess this. Which actor in here do you think was in a movie that won Academy Award for Best Picture, and he was a big part of the movie? And it's an actor. It's a male actor.
I
can't guess.
I don't know. No.
I would rule out Lou Diamond Phillips. That's just my instinct, though. But
Yep.
I don't know which of them was.
Lou Diamond Phillips' partner, Mikelt Williamson, the black cop, was Bubba in Forrest Gump.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. When I was doing some research.
That was only like a few years later, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1994.
I got confused when you didn't list all the different ways to make shrimp.
Yeah, exactly. So I was also shocked because I think he probably put some weight on for that role as well. Because
he did look very different in that movie.
Yeah, but yeah. So I was shocked to see that. Yeah, he was Bubba in Forrest Gump. So so that was interesting to see. All right, let's get to we got a little bit of time left. Let's get to special effects and stunt work. And I'm going to kick this one off, and then we'll go around the horn. I will say there's not a whole lot of special effects to speak of in this movie. There's not a whole lot of practical effects or special effects. There was a little bit of makeup work on some of the kills and stuff like that, but nothing to write home about. The thing that got me about the stunt work is the stunt work itself was not bad, but it's like I was mentioning before, you can have competent stunt work and it can still be not fit the movie if it doesn't fit the story. And that's why you need a stunt director, or you really need to understand how to do fight scenes and all sorts of other stuff. Mike brought up another instance where they had a scene with a car that was crashing and doing all these crazy stuff. And it seemed like the only reason the car was crashing is so it could crash on camera. It made no sense.
Yeah.
So
and then getting up and walking away from it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. So and there are numerous, and when I say numerous, I mean numerous instances of just competent stunt work that is ruined by absolutely not making any sense of fitting in the scenes. So that is my soapbox 2 cents on stunt work and special effects, makeup and stuff. I'm going to go to Mike first. Mike next. What would you have to say about it?
I'm going to have to agree on the stunt work. It was done decently, but like you said, it didn't make any sense at all. So it made something good seem stupid. And so it kind of ruined it itself.
Yeah.
I guess as far as, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there were even some great shots, some falling shots that were shot technically well. So the cinematographer captured them exceptionally well, but they were wasted because they were stupid. So.
I did like there was a couple of scenes where I thought some of the cuts were done well, but this was typically in scenes where the lighting was low. But I guess that's about all I got to say on the special effects there.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Steve? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, some of these special effects would have been fine in a different kind of movie, or at least used on different kinds of characters. But it's like, they took this guy who is very much Jason, or at least, that kind of horror movie villain that at least they're trying to build him up as that early in the movie. And then later on, it's like, he's your typical action movie villain that somehow knows how to do like all these different kinds of martial arts. It's like he went into like the Matrix and plugged himself with that I know Kung Fu sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's running around, going like he's in a Yuen Wu Ping film, trying to kill Lou Diamond Phillips. And it's just like, no, where did he learn how to do this? How does he know how to do this? The devil is not giving him the ability to do martial arts. Like,
you don't know. You don't know.
It's stupid. It's dumb, and it doesn't work. And it's like, but yeah, I mean, there are things that I like. Like you can definitely tell that they spent a lot of money building that last set. Those last sets, set, near the dam and whatnot. The whole scene where, the guys hide out. All of that stuff. They spent a lot of extra money on that, and it shows. They didn't spend a whole lot of money otherwise.
That water slide looked fun as hell, man. I wanted to go down that water slide.
Oh yeah, yeah. if they did like a horror water park with that whole setup, I think people would go there. It would be fun. But as the movie itself, no, not at all. No, I mean there's a lot of goofiness in the way that they pulled that off.
I do have to give a shout out to the bag lady. I don't know if the actress did her own stunts. Probably not. But the bag lady was, I know I'm sick, so don't send me any comments, folks. But I thought the bag lady was kind of hot in a bag lady kind of way, and she was jumping in the front seat and kissing Lou Diamond Phillips. I was like, slow down, lady, slow down. Buy him dinner first, man. I was like, the guy just got through a divorce. I mean, Jesus. But yeah, I was like, she was a little crazy too. So I don't know. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But you all probably did. Yeah, well, y'all didn't need to hear that, but you heard it anyway. So there it is. Happy Halloween. All right. Speaking of money, I will say that this movie cost $10 million to make, which even back in this movie was probably filmed in 1989. That's not a ton of money, for a movie. I think like a really expensive movie back then was probably 40, 50, 60 million, something like that. And it brought in 22 million at the box office, which means it probably broke even or made a little bit of money, which is a little bit surprising to me. It was universally panned by most critics. And surprisingly, it's become kind of a cult classic, which I could definitely see. I could see this movie being a cult classic. It's kind of like, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because if my wife hears me say this, she'll kill me. But it's like Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's not good, but it's so bad that it's great. So you enjoy it. So that's the level of the movie. I watch it every year and I enjoy it. But let's be honest, folks. Let's call it as it is. If you were just grading it on how good it is as a movie, it's not good. So, but that is a whole other thing. What are you agreeing or are you disagreeing? So
I have been saying that movie is not good for a really long time.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it, but I will, I'm also man enough to admit and to be right out there and just say it. It needs to be said. All right. So there's one last category, and it's probably the most important category for this time of the year right now. And we're going to start with Mike again and go around the horn. Is the movie scary? Are there any points in it where you were scared? Is the concept scary? It was just not executed at all? Or is this a movie that you basically just kind of got through it and you're like, yeah, it's okay, but it wasn't scary at all?
I don't know. It's kind of scary to think that there are just enormous vats of flammable acid down in the sewer.
That is scary. That is scary.
I could be killed by a ceiling fan. That's scary.
There was one part that was mildly scary. But to be fair, I am a little numb. I've been watching horror movies a really long time. Okay. But when he was in the confessional booth and he turns to him and says, "How's the stomach, buddy boy?" That particular side, that one was that had a little bit of scary to it, just a little bit.
Although I will say, speaking as a Catholic, I would love to know where these confessionals are, where anybody who is not Catholic can just walk into them and just start treating it like a psychiatrist's office and spilling their guts. I'm like, where is this happening? But that's just me. Steve, was this movie scary?
Is this movie scary? No, not really. it's like, yeah, there are definitely moments that are good, but I would say as a whole, I would say no. Is the concept scary? Sure. Anybody could be Satan. Anybody could be trying to kill you, and you have no idea. You can't trust anybody. That there is a promise to that. The thing is there are other movies that have executed this in ways that are scarier and work better, like Fallen. So it's not a concept problem. It is an execution problem. It just didn't work in this movie, and it's this writer director unfortunately just didn't pull it off, and that's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, it could have been good. It could have been good if it had been done better by a director who knew what he was doing as a director. Mm-hmm. We just didn't get that.
I will say that at the time, this movie scared me, I think, because it reminded me of some things, real life things. Now I'm like Mike, I'm numb for the most part. I've seen so many horror movies that it takes a lot. You could get me with an occasional jump scare or stuff like that, but most of the time I watch horror movies to enjoy them, and I enjoy the concepts. There are some that legitimately scare me as well. But as an example, I just watched a horror movie that was out in theaters this month, and people were raving about it, and I was legitimately bored. So yeah, it's just one of those things. But I agree with you. I think the concept was good. I think you could do a lot. I think if this movie was remade today, there's a lot of very shocking things you could do, but that would be more gore and shock value. There are.
I think you definitely play with the paranoia.
Yeah.
Like it's an isolating ability. Like you cannot trust anyone, and you can really dive into different kinds of fear, tension, and whatnot. Being able to do that, plenty of possibilities that way.
I will also say I have watched Fallen so many times that it's gone beyond counting, and I watched it again recently because it's one of those movies I watch every year at Halloween. Awesome. And it still scares me. The song when he's first coming out to be executed, when John Goodman starts singing, there are so many moments. Donald Sutherland in it. There are so many moments in it that are legitimately scary to me that it still gets me, even though I know it's coming. So I think there's something to be said for. There are times and there are actors and there are movies that take me out of my numbness and still scare the crap out of me, which is cool. It's good to know that. So, you know,
circumstance can also take you out of a moment.
That's true.
I was in my trailer watching The Nun, and this enormous gust of wind hit my trailer just as the nun was reaching out for the sister. And it's like, my heart just leapt out of my chest. I was like, whoa.
I will say this was like 30 years ago, and I don't want, Steve, you're welcome to share a story, and then we'll get out of here because we don't want to turn this into a whole story time. But like 25, 30 years ago, I was home and we were watching a scary movie, and I believe we were watching The Exorcist 3. And during one of the scenes where Brad Dourif is in there and they're having the growls and everything, this horrendous sound from outside, legitimately, it sounded like somebody was being murdered, came from outside, scared us all shitless. And of course, I'm the oldest in the house. It was my mom, my brother, and my sister, and I. And so I'm the oldest. My mom's like, go check it out. I was like, the hell you say? I'll go check it out. So we went out there with the flashlight. It was the most horrible sound you've ever heard. It was a possum and an owl fighting in a tree. It was like, it sounded horrifying. Yeah. If anybody ever wants a good sound for a horror movie, find that. Probably the ASCPA will be upset with you if you, cause them to fight. But if you just happen to throw an owl and a raccoon fighting,
no possums were harmed in the making of this movie.
Yeah. record that shit because it was horrifying. So Steve, would you like to share anything that made you piss your pants, or are we good?
I don't have I haven't watched enough horror movies to have those kinds of moments, so I don't think
I haven't tried to cure him of that.
Yeah, all right. It's like I'm very much a casual horror fan, to the point, I'm not like hardcore like you guys are.
Just for that, you got another month of horror movies. Would you like another? So
Yes, actually. You
Maybe,
want another
would you
one?
like another?
Yes.
just for that, you got Krampus in December. There you go. All right. So let's wrap this up by giving our grade for this movie. Let's do this from 1 to 10. I think
Okay.
we've said all we need to say about it. So let's go ahead and go around the horn. I will start with Steve and go around the horn through Mike and then myself. So, Steve, 1 to 10, what would you rate this movie?
4, to be honest. I don't think it's god awful. It's not one of those where, where I'm just taken out every other minute by something stupid going on. And when it's legitimate, and sometimes it's legitimately funny, like, the bit with the ceiling fan made me laugh. The bit with the bag lady, made me laugh. There are some genuine moments like that I think offset it. I think that the actors here are not necessarily, the problem. I think that, even if some of their performances didn't land, you can sort of tell that the cast did what they could, to sort of make it work.
Yeah.
And there are ideas here and there that kind of come through, moments here and there, like the confessional scene. Like some of the scenes of Channing, how's the stomach, buddy boy?
Yeah.
That things like that do kind of work. It's just that, oh man, there are a lot of problems that kind of bring it down, but it's not like to the point where you can't watch it. It's enjoyable enough despite being narratively flawed.
Okay. And everybody out there, if your priest throws a knife at you in the confessional, you either really need to repent or your priest is possessed. I'm just putting it out there for everybody. So, Mike, what would you give this movie 1 to 10?
I gotta say, I think 4 is a little generous. I think that this had a great idea and just failed so miserably on so many levels. Like it, I'm thinking like 3.5.
All right. All right. As always, I'm going to be generous. I think I'm wearing nostalgia goggles on this movie, so take that into account. I would give this movie a 4.5, which means I think we're settling on a 4 for the movie. Yeah, I mean, I think the movie is watchable. You would be better off watching it after drinking a couple beers, probably. So I would recommend that, or some tequila, maybe some mezcal or something, and then you'll be right in the right headspace for this movie. But
If you're
yeah,
drinking mezcal, you need to invite me.
Every time Lou Diamond Phillips' character acts like an asshole, take a shot. You'll be drunk enough.
yeah. But it is not the greatest horror movie in the world, but I think it's worth watching once, if you could get a chance to, because there's a lot of stuff in here. I think it builds on a lot of stuff that came before. I think you could definitely see that the people who did Fallen took this movie and other movies like it and did it better, much better. I mean, miles better. But that's enough of that. So with that, I think I can announce that we are doing Black Christmas next Friday. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
The original,
we'll
not
And
not
the
not the Michelle
1974
Trachtenberg
version, yeah.
You know, not the more recent one that we don't talk about. The original one with Margot Kidder and yeah.
Does that mean we have to do My Bloody Valentine at some point, or is that off the table? So
I'm all kind of down with doing My Bloody Valentine. That's one of the better Canadian movies out there.
Yeah. All right. So we will be back next Friday on Halloween itself, where I'm going to be a very busy man. I have got not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 podcasts that I am on Halloween. So I am going to be all over the place. But we will be doing Black Christmas from 1974 next Friday. Make sure you tune in, everybody. And no matter where you are this weekend, try and snuggle up with somebody. Get close to somebody. If it's a horror movie, get really close to somebody, if you know what I'm talking about. And watch yourself some movies, snuggle up in a chair, and have a great, great weekend. We are out of here.